that have marked this earth forever. There are lives who indelibly touch ours, whose presence lit the way for us, whose smile lit up the day for us. There are lives, there are lives. There are times when our words don't come out clearly. There are times when our dreams seem far away. There's no one who knows us well enough, no one who we can tell enough. There are times, there are times. With the rising of the sun, we remember them. And when the evening falls, we remember them. When we take an outstretched hand, we remember them. In our highest moment and our deepest feeling, we remember them. There are ways to move forward from this moment. There are ways to take that journey home, to fill the void inside of us when darkness seems to hide in us. There are ways, there are ways. With the rising of the sun, we remember them. And when the evening falls, we remember them. When we take an outstretched hand, we remember them. In our highest moment and our deepest feeling, we remember them. May their memory be a blessing as we remember them. La 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 la. God, who numbered all the stars in heaven, to each you gave a purpose and a name. As you remember all that you've created, we ask you, show us how to do the same. Though it be beyond our understanding, and reasoning and truth not be revealed, we pray you guide us as we join together. Draw from your strength the courage to be healed. Neir Adonai Nishmat Adam. The human spirit is the lamp of God. Let us always remember all of the heroes who risked their lives, who heard the sound of the anguished cries, their righteous deeds and their acts of honor are memories that must survive. All of our loved ones who now are gone, all those with faith and those with none. When we recall and retell their stories, forever they will live on. Lie, 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 lie. La 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 la
Seasons must change, to dust we must return again. But love, love, love never dies. You are here with me. Kieta imadi.
Do you ever feel so fragile, like a sparrow against the wind, like the world is on your shoulders, like a stranger in your skin? Healing of the body and a healing of the heart, healing of the spirit and the broken parts, healing of the body, grant us healing of the soul, healing of the spirit, may we soon be whole.
When the world is dark and troubled, when the shadows conceal the sun, and when neighbors become strangers, then from where will our help come? Healing of the body and a healing of the heart, healing of the spirit and the broken parts, healing of the body, grant us healing of the soul, healing of the spirit, may we soon be whole. From sea to shining sea, may we be the change that we want to see. Healing of the forest, the rivers and the streams, the mountain and the valley, and the air we breathe. Refuah, 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 shlema.
יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ונם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אלה המביטים בחכת הליל, הם שמרים יש כוכבים. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ונם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אלה המבהיקים בחכת הליל, הם שמרים. There are stars, there are stars, there are stars that keep glowing even when they're gone to light the dark and guide our hearts, and the love we share still lives on and on, shining like a beam. יש
On most years, when the Yizkor service begins, each of us enters into our own very private world. We would turn away from the larger themes of the Yom Kippur day, for the Day of Atonement concerns itself with the challenges of life. Its message is to make the choice of life, and its prayer is to be inscribed in the book of life. The Yizkor service always reminds us we did no longer dwell in the bright, unshadowed sunlight of our youth. Grief had cast its heavy clouds over us. When we came to Yizkor, we brought our most intimate sorrows, our sadness others could not share. We entered the innermost chamber of remembrance. We carried into the sanctuary the cherished memories of our beloved husband or wife, our life's companion whose love was our life, precious recollections of our parents, our mother or our father or both, who gave us life and nurtured us, taught us and sacrificed for us, a brother or a sister with whom we shared the years of growing and playing and learning, grandparents, dearest grandparents whose greatest joy was making us feel good about ourselves. Some hearts ached for a child or a grandchild whose laughter and joy uplifted our lives. We recalled relatives and friends, teachers and colleagues whose deaths had diminished us. And of course, we do that today. We are alone with the pain of our bereavement, the voices we love to hear that are now silent. But this year, the year of the pandemic, Yizkor is dramatically different for each of us. It's not just about the lives that we've lost, but a way of life that seems gone as well. Though we may be sitting alone in an apartment or a home, or in a living room with maybe just a few family members, or here, as you are in our sanctuary, we know the whole world is mourning. In every corner of our land, people of every faith and race and heritage are weeping. And we cannot grasp the extent of the despair that overwhelms American families and the peoples of different lands worldwide. We all remember when the New York Times first printed the names of the Americans who had died on the front page in the early summer of 2020. The image of those names took our collective breath away. Endless names. The tragedy, anonymous no more. Each listing was followed by a personal insight or achievement, attributes about the individuals who fell victim to COVID. The Talmud teaches to save one life is to save an entire world. Each name communicates a world that was lost, a teacher, a craftsman, a business owner, a dancer. Neighbors, friends, colleagues, grandparents. People who were loved and who loved being in the world. I thought of Ursula Hege's insightful comment concerning nameless, innocent people killed in a small German town in the Second World War. Each life is a story that would hold an entire world. Thus, the way we experience Yizkor today cannot be separated from the shadow of this plague. We who have thus far survived feel devastated, our lives upturned. We are unnerved by the uncertainty of tomorrow. Each of us feels the loneliness evoked by the words of Robert Frost. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet. When far away an uninterrupted cry came over houses from another street, but not to call me back or say goodbye. And further still, at an unearthly height, one luminary light against the sky. Proclaim the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. Indeed, the cries of heartache, the frozen clock when time did not move through the accustomed cycles of working and eating and sleeping. We have read the outcries. Gloria Jackson, 75 of Minnesota, wrote, I try not looking at the clock. A day can drag on forever when you are isolated all by yourself. It's been almost 7 weeks since I've seen a live person. I think of Job. He had lost the children whom he loved, everything he owned, living in isolation. My relatives are gone, my friends have forgotten me. Can you remember when you were entering this valley of the shadow of death? Was it March of 2020? Was it before then? Suddenly, the darkness seemed to swallow us. We weren't even certain what it was. Contradictory warnings, confusing instructions, wear masks, don't wear masks, please wear your mask. And then we were told only people over 70 with pre-existing conditions would truly suffer, which really brought no comfort whatsoever. And we became paralyzed, and many decided not to leave their homes. Others, fortunate to have living options, decided what they would do. Adult children were fearful of visiting parents so not as to expose them to danger. Grandchildren became off limits to grandparents. Shutdowns led to losses of jobs. The sick filled hospitals to overflowing. And those who succumbed were so numerous. Many were placed in tents on streets outside hospitals waiting to be properly buried. In every congregation, there were deaths. In every synagogue, church, and mosque. Heartache became ubiquitous. We heard so often, she died alone, or I couldn't even say goodbye to him. Zoom funerals, Zoom shivas. Children suffered, and they continue to. Their isolation was so upsetting. Loneliness for friends, it was heartbreaking. Homeschooling, problematic at best. And the joyful times, the times we come to Micah to celebrate B'nai Mitzvah or graduations, weddings, they were postponed or canceled. Some couples just still waiting. There were and are heroes, thousands nationwide, risking their lives without proper equipment. The stories we heard were terrifying, especially from nurses and doctors in ERs and ICUs. Every year at Yizkor, we weep for our losses. Why did he die in the midst of life? Why did she suffer so? Yizkor provides a response, an awareness of how we can lift ourselves from despair. Viktor Frankl, a psychotherapist and Holocaust survivor who brought hope to those imprisoned, wrote, "If we cannot change a situation, we have always the last freedom to change our attitude towards that situation." I think that is the meaning of the contemporary Holy Day prayer inspired by our tradition. Our origin is dust, and so is our end. Like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by. And even so, the way we act, the way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and in others, these things have great power to make our lives matter. And so we make whole the broken shards, green and thick the withering grass, and we attach our hope to something beyond ourselves. Psychological studies reveal over and over again that we hunger for human contact as much as for food, and some of us are really hungering at this moment. And though we feel isolated, we have found ways to connect. How many of you, just by a show of hands, went to a Zoom Seder in the last 18 months? How many of you shared cocktails over Zoom or FaceTime? Okay, that was more of you than the Seder, so we'll talk about that later. It's okay. Relationships have been renewed. In the spirit of Yom Kippur, old hurts have been forgiven. Some have called a lonely person and were amazed to discover how greatly they had underestimated what that call meant to them. So often we try and tough it out by ourselves, and then all we have is our own sorrow. And it seems as if no one else cares. But we can take hold of one another's hand and forge ahead through the darkness of uncertainty. Another's hand, another's caring will not only strengthen us, but enable us to lift the spirits of those who need us. And even so in this darkness also means seeking community. And you have done this, so many of you. I've been amazed by the numbers of people who have attended our services and activities remotely since the pandemic pushed us into isolation. And I hear the same from members of congregations in other states. We Jews know that the synagogue is central to Jewish life everywhere. It's a source of renewal. It's a source of learning and hope. And if we can't get there, we'll Zoom there, because it's the gateway to being with others and to experiencing the holy. When we learn that 3 and 4 times as many people attend virtual worship, a cynic might say, well, it's easy. They can come in their pajamas. But I can only respond, when you realize the TV and internet options available, if they log into religious services, it's a choice. But let me return to Job for just a moment. He is the most defiant, even so, to emulate as we confront the tragedies wrought by COVID and those who have mishandled it. Grieving over the losses that afflicted him, knowing it was undeserved despite the accusations of his so-called comforters, Job proclaimed, like a flash of lightning amid his exclamations of misery, "The righteous who hold to their path, their hands grow stronger and stronger." Strength renews itself within us, especially when we are challenged. In the midst of our most traumatic times, we are often surprised by the toughness we possess and by our determination to overcome. And as a rabbi, I was often in awe of you in this congregation as you found ways to carry on, step by step in times of illness, insecurity, and loss. From somewhere within you, like Job, you discovered a restorative power to rally back and inspire others. Yes, we have been acquainted with the night. The story of Jews through the ages has too often been darkened by enemies who sought our destruction. But our history has continued because we've known the power of hope and lived on by affirming tomorrow's promise. No matter the despair we may feel in our loneliness, let us say with defiant hope, in this time of unease and dis-ease, even so, because the gates soon shall close on the past year. And then with others, with our community, and with the resilience we discover deep in our souls, we will seek out new gates to a better, brighter year, one that is reacquainted with truth and justice, and strengthened by friendship and by love.
Adonai, lenegdi tamid, ki mimini balemot, lachen samach libi, vayagel kavodi, af besari yishkon lavetach kirvon tazov nafshi lishon lo titen kastecha samachor et panecha ni'imot b'mikan etzag sheviti Adonai lenegdi tamid kimi
Please join me in the words of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Make me lie down in green pastures, leading me beside still waters, restoring my soul, guiding me along the right paths for God's name's sake. So even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Adonai roi lo achsar beni ot asher yarbitseni amen nuchot yanaleni nafshi yishovev yancheni b'magal hatzedek leman shemo gam ki elech begetz ha'mavet lo yirara ki ata imadi שבטך ומשענתך הם הנחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Merciful God, God Most High, may you remember all those who have left us, left our presence, left our lives. May you also remember all those who have died of COVID-19, of old age and known preconditions, those who died entirely surprised by the terrible fragility of our human bodies. With love, we repeat the words of an old Yizkor book. I had a dream. I returned to the town of my childhood. Everyone there was still alive. Dreamers we are of a world in which you are still alive, living among us and going about the life we once knew as normal. May your memory be a collective blessing and a reminder to shelter those who are fragile, even in times of fear.
If I've touched your life, I hope it was with laughter, or with a song, or maybe just a smile. Maybe something that I said rattled round in your head, and you saw the world through my eyes for a while. If I've touched your life, I hope it was with meaning, and my presence here brightened all your days. A friendship grown from seed, or perhaps I met some need. I hope I touched your life in special ways. If I made a difference while I was here, sometimes it's so hard to tell, and harder still to let you know you've touched my life as well. If I've touched your life, then let it be for always, and remember me with gladness if you will. Even though I'm gone, even from beyond, our lives will touch forever still.
We read together. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. One of the members of our congregation who just recently turned 100, her name is Sally. And I saw Sally in February of 2020, and she had just been recovering from a fall. And she had a hip injury, and then I didn't see her until May because, well, it was 2020. And when I did finally see her, and really I was nervous about it because I wouldn't want to bring any kind of sickness or illness into her home, the first thing she said to me was, "Rabbi, you haven't come to see me in so long." And she was angry. And in that moment, I realized that worse than death is just being alone. And so many of us what we feel most pointedly when we think about our loved ones who aren't with us anymore is just that pit of aloneness that sits right around here and makes it hard to swallow and hard to fight back the tears. And somewhere in there, there's a gratitude for the role they played in our lives and the fact that we had the time with them that we did, but it still feels empty. This is an hour of memory, and this is a house of comfort. Wounded by loss, we retreat from life. Our synagogue community gathers us in. Into this place, we bring stories and prayers, unanswered questions, tears that need to be shed. I'll invite you forward in just a moment, if you'd like, to take a match, light it from the candle that's already lit, and then light your own Yizkor candle. Because the poet Yehuda Amichai said that forgetting someone is like forgetting to turn off the lights in the backyard so it stays lit all the next day, but then it's the light that makes you remember. Candlelight symbolizes the human being. Jewish mysticism suggests that the wick is the body, the flame is the soul, and the wax serves as the bond between them. The flame of each of our souls strive ever upward, bringing light to darkness. And so as a community, with that pit in our stomach, we give thanks for the blessing of life, for companionship, and for memory. Our tradition teaches that we never lose those we love, for love is stronger than death. So we invite you to come forward at this time and light a Yizkor candle, if you might be remembering a loved one who's lost. And if you kindle the candle, as it burns, so may the memory of those we honor today continue to be for us a blessing and inspiration. I invite you forward at this time. I invite you to please rise for the memorial prayer of El Male Rachamim. El Male Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamse Menucha Nekonataka Kanver Shekhinah, Im Kadoshim Utorim Kazohar Harakia, Mazhirim, Et Nishmatam, Sheholchim Leolamam, Bal Harachamim, Yastirehu Basater, Kanafav Leolamim, Vayitzror HaChaim et Nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, V'yanuach v'shalom al mishkavam, v'nomar amen.
Please be seated. Some of the more poignant moments I experience as a rabbi are when I meet with a family in preparation for a funeral. Since I offer often the eulogy, I'm dependent upon the family to tell me memories, recollections of the deceased. And it's at such moments that one begins to realize that we are all our memories. The memories we created and leave behind. And it's at such moments that we discover how dependent we are on others after death. Our survivors, as our remembrances or our remembrancers. And that might explain, I think, why some traditional Jews will refer to their kids as their Kaddishals. Right? Not merely in the sense that after their death, they're going to be the ones that will recite Kaddish at Yizkor, but that they will be like the sanctifier or the remembrancer, the witness to their life. Because we all want to be remembered. And memory is life. And amnesia is like death. 169 times the biblical word for memory, zachor, is repeated in the Torah. And it lies at the root of the word Yizkor. And for all that COVID has taken away, it is also given. It has, for instance, given us this. It won't let us forget just how much we are in each other's lives and space. How much we touch one another. We touch them physically, but also each other's destinies, because we shape each other's realities, even and especially after we are gone. Rabbi David Wolpe tells this sweet story about how at a family Seder, one of his nephews asked why there was a cup for Elijah at the Seder. And so his father's response was that the cup was there to invite Elijah, who dwells in the heavens on high, to join them at the Seder and maybe bring the Mashiach, the Messiah, with him. And his nephew listened innocently, and he smiled, and he replied, well, Zadie's also in heaven. He just went there last year. Shouldn't we also have a cup for him and invite him too? And this sense of intense emotion sort of gripped the Seder participants, because the presence of their beloved Zadie began to permeate the room. With that one comment, the significance of Elijah's cup took on a whole new meaning. A loved one who had passed was now tangibly present. In essence, what this Yizkor service at Micah does for us is to create an invitation for our deceased loved ones to travel the barrier between this life and the next, to travel from heaven to earth, to join us, if only just for a few meaningful and sacred moments that our tradition has provided for us, so that our loved ones can almost physically sit by our side and spiritually dwell with us. Today, memory comes alive in a special way to imbue our existence with sacred context, with personal meaning, and with a greater sense of this connection. At Yizkor, we set aside this time to remember the ones we miss. The ones who knew you and your world like no one else. The ones who grasped the corkscrew twist special to your own soul. And we recall that person that held your heart, cradled in their hands, and is now gone, at least physically. We cannot erase the pain. We cannot reverse the loss. Instead, you must carry them, memories, some robust, some fragile, some that are clear and bright like the summer sun, and others that are quite murky like a cloudy day. All of us hold on to the hope that one day, at the promised end, we'll be reunited. When we lose the people we love, whether we lose them in life or we lose them to death, there is a sense of an unfinished story, a chord yet to play, we would say here at Micah. So, we carry all those disparate legacies inside of ourselves. And today we gather to thank them for being a part of the stories, not only that we tell, but also the stories that we are. Even absent voices have an echo inside of us. And even when the person is no longer physically here, we know that love doesn't die. Still, what we miss and what we crave is the intimacy that assures us in a world that spins no matter our wishes that we are not alone. Enter Micah, because Micah is not just an old Hebrew name that means who is like God, which also appears in the Bible several times. For us here in Tennessee, Micah is a collection of songs and prayers and dreams and stories where our spirits sail forth, bound toward the heavens. How? Here at Micah, we build a bridge between life and death in a very artful and mysterious way. We say an ancient prayer. And the prayer that is said for the dead is all about life. Saying Kaddish, Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, demands that we acknowledge the sanctity of those powerful and pristine and painful moments when the ones we miss are so close that it almost frightens us. Because we miss them at celebrations when there's an empty seat at the table, and we miss them when we come here to Micah because they used to sit next to us. We miss them today and every day, with every year that passes, as our lives go on with what seems like without them. Their faces and their voices and their feel of their arms around us. These are still with us forever, through memory. Saying Kaddish requires that we do not look away, even though it's easier. We don't dodge the tears. And what's more, there is this promise, a promise born from the love that you shared with them. This promise to sustain their story, the lessons that they taught, the life that they lived. That's how they are Zochreinu L'chaim. They are remembered for life. And this is the bridge that spans between life and death. And it compels us as Jews to share in these services of Yizkor, in these moments of mourning and sadness. It has been this way from the very beginning. Long before the first Jews, our patriarch Abraham and our matriarch Sarah, long before they were separated by death, back when their story was really just beginning, and that's when our story began. Abraham told Sarah, "V'chayata nafshi biglalech." I will live on because of you. It was his way of saying to her, you're my Kaddish. He couldn't have known then that she would be the first to die. That, in fact, he would end up being her Kaddish. It wasn't important then. What mattered was the promise firmly held between them. V'chayata nafshi biglalech. I will live on because of you. Here we are, thousands of miles and years from that promise, still saying Kaddish for them. Our lives, our existence is testimony. It's testimony to the belief and the power and the legacy they built because we say Kaddish. And being someone's Kaddish, uttering these ancient words, it's not easy. Drawing our loved ones who used to be right near us used to bring us like our greatest joy to hold them. But now it carries this mixture of joy and trepidation and pain and heartache. So Judaism swoops in and says, our destiny is not to be grieving machines. We are not to terminally lament what was lost. Our destiny is forever to sustain what we found and to share it with other people. We are their Kaddishes, and we speak these words in their name. And in doing so, we affirm that their lives mattered, and so do ours. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass my hand all the way around this room. And as you say the name of someone you may be mourning, I'm going to invite you to rise. And then I'm going to add the names that we lost from our community this year. And then at the end, I'll invite everyone who's not standing to go ahead and join us. And we'll say Kaddish for our loved ones. We're starting over here. Go on, stand. You're mic'd. Say the names. I invite all now to please rise and join us in Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra kirute ve'amlich malchute, v'chayachon uv'yomachon uv'chayei l'kol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach la'alam ulalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu, le'ela min kol birkata v'shirata, tushbekata v'nekamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yehusei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. I'm going to read just these last names from our community. They include Rich Michelle, Henry E. Foyer, Dr. Bob Sirkin, Aidan Becker, Robert Golden, Alfred Cohen, Des Zamek, Elaine Farinacci, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Charlene Creeley, John Giffen, Faye Sirkin, Joyce Murray, Richard I. Bourne, Fran Schmerling, Peggy J. West, Christopher Miller, Molly Stein, Alfred Cohen, Joseph W. Blumenthal, Leonard Basked, Joanne Cohen, Jack Chirac, Hilda Jackman, Peter Weiss, Mary Frank, Gersha Rogers, Rabbi Richard Hirsch, Bernard Bernie Bublik, Malcolm Arrington, and Lois Hershkowitzes. We conclude now. We invite you to be seated with a song that we will hope will continue, and that is That We Remember.
That have marked this earth forever. There are lives who indelibly touched ours, whose presence lit the way for us, whose smile lit up the day for us. There are lives, there are lives. There are times when our words don't come out clearly. There are times when our dreams seem far away. There's no one who knows us well enough, no one who we can tell enough. There are times, there are times, with the rising of the sun. To fill the void inside of us when darkness seems to hide in us. There are ways, there are ways. With the rising of the sun, we remember them. And when the evening falls, we remember them. in our highest moment and our deepest feeling, we remember them. May their memory be a blessing as we remember them.
We are going to take a brief 5 minutes, which will take us to 6 o'clock, and then start promptly with our Neilah service. So if you're at home, please don't turn us off. And if you're here and you need to use the restroom or just stand up, now is your time. Just one more moment, a shift of mind and heart, a breath of peace. Just another moment is all I ask. To see the truth behind these words we speak at the end of this very long day. One last chance to stand before you, exhausted as I am. I still have hope for just a moment. Let me pray. Open the gates of righteousness for us. Please join me. Open the gates that we may enter and praise the eternal. Open the gates for us, for all Israel, and for people everywhere. The gates of acceptance and atonement, beauty and creativity, the gates of dignity, empathy, and faith, the gates of generosity and hope, insight and joy, the gates of knowledge and love, meaning and nobility, the gates of openness, patience, and the quest for peace, the gates of renewal, song, and tranquility, the gates of understanding and virtue, the gates of wisdom and wonder, exaltation, youth, and old age, the gates of Zion, born and rebuilt in our time. Open the gates, open them wide, show us the way to enter.
We begin in hope. We begin with believing. We begin with our hearts staying open to all of the gifts we're receiving. We begin in faith. We begin with returning. We begin with our minds broken open to lessons we'll never stop learning. We begin again. Amen. 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 We begin again. We begin in strength. We begin seeking justice. We begin with our hearts stretching open to welcome the weary among us. Begin again. We begin again. May the sweetness
no more sermons, but a very, very short story. Very short story. In a town in Eastern Europe many years ago, the very strangest thing happened. One day, all of the clocks just stopped working. 12:57, all the clocks stopped. And when I say all the clocks, I mean all the clocks. Wooden clocks, cuckoo clocks, brass clocks, marble clocks, every clock. Everyone in town panicked. They didn't know what to do. They got together. They tried to figure it out. The best solution they could come up with was to repair the clocks one at a time. They called out all the watchmakers, all the technicians, all the people who were handy, and they challenged everyone to go clock by clock fixing them. Now, this was a really long time ago when every clock was wound, so they tried winding the clocks. Then they shook the clocks. That's Rabbi Flip's favorite way of seeing if he can fix something. Then they took them apart and put them back together. Nothing seemed to work. So, time moved forward, even without the help of the clocks. This went on, and the people didn't know what to do, and hours turned to days, and days turned to weeks, and weeks turned to months, and seasons began to turn one to the next. Summer, fall, winter, spring. Over time, in fact, these clocks began to rust. And one day, someone showed up in the town, and she was a clockmaker. And she was a real expert, the kind that really didn't exist in that small town. She knew everything there was to know about clocks. The people of the town were thrilled. If anyone can fix our clocks, they thought, it's this woman. So the people bombarded her and begged her, please, ma'am, fix our clocks. They lined up with their clocks, and one by one, they handed it to her. The wooden clocks, the cuckoo clocks, the brass clocks, the marble clocks, every last one of them. She looked at them carefully, one by one. And as she walked up to the first, opening it up, she sighed. She looked at the owner and said, I'm so sorry. There's actually nothing I can do. You see, over the years, your clock is rusted. So she moved on to the next person. And the next clock, same, rust. Again, she had to deliver the news to its owner. There was nothing she could do. And this went on for a while. The clockmaker making her way down the line and examining each one. More rust, more bad news, more rust, more bad news. So finally, she gets to the end of the line, and looking at the last clock, she smiles. She looks at its owner and she says, I can fix your clock. Unlike all the others, yours is ready. And everyone turned to the owner of this particular clock, amazed. How is it that your clock can be repaired? How did it not turn to ruin with rust? And the owners of this clock looked back at the townspeople and said, every single day, we wound our clock with hope that someone would come, someone who could help us. Every single day, even when we didn't feel so hopeful, we wound our clock, and we hoped that someday someone would become who was able to fix our clock. And so winding our clock each and every day kept it from rusting. And now we know that that little bit of effort allowed us to save our clock. I want to congratulate you, because being here to usher in the end of Yom Kippur, to close the gates and the books on a year that has just passed, on this year that has just passed, being here with your synagogue community, being here to take this time, even if it's just this time, to focus on bettering yourself, to focus on repairing that which needs to be repaired, to return to what really matters, to set our compass for the year ahead, is the way to keep the proverbial clock wound. Consider for yourself, what does it take for you to keep yourself going and to keep winding that clock? Who do you count on to keep from growing rusty? And how do you help others do the same? Neilah is about recommitting to eradicating the rust. It's about renewing our stamina and our optimism for a year ahead.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen.
God of all generations, on this great Sabbath of forgiveness, forgive our moral failings. Year after year, you set us on a path from guilt to holiness. We are grateful for your gifts of love and compassion. Seal us today for a life of integrity, lived in covenant with you. Grant us peace. Give us freedom to choose between good and evil, life and death. May we choose life and good, that our children may inherit from us the blessing of peace. May we and the whole family of Israel be remembered and sealed in the book of life.
Thank you for the morning sunrise. Thank you for the moon on high. Thank you for the stars at night when they're lighting up the sky. Thank you for a stranger's kindness. Thank you for my circle of friends. Thank you for the help I needed till I landed on my feet again. Modim, אנחנו לך. Modim, אנחנו לך. We give thanks to the eternal. Modim, אנחנו לך. Thank you for my children's laughter. Thank you for my parents' love. Thank you for my open heart to share with those without enough. Thank you for my voice that's speaking. Thank you for the light that guides my way. Thank you for the gift to make tomorrow better than today. Oh, dear. We give thanks to the eternal.
move to close the book of life and seal it. All those who asked forgiveness and those who gave forgiveness, go in peace. Let all God seekers and soul searchers of this day depart this place inspired and renewed. Let us build a community of commitment together. Be sealed for a year of Torah and soulful searching. Be sealed for a year of kindness, good deeds, and love. As the book of life is closed now and sealed, we ask that you open for us the gates of sacred community, that we may enter and feel its healing power, that we may enter and grow in faithfulness, that we may find enduring values and meaning, that we may enter and offer our best, that we may offer our humanity, that we may offer our love.
May this be a year of love and kindness. May strangers come to be friends. May truth and compassion always guide us. Amen. May this be a year of hope and healing for all of those in need. May all of our deeds be a blessing. Amen. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. May this be a year of selfless giving. May this be a year of peace. And may we forgive and be forgiven. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. Sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. Closer to the ones we love. We can be proud of, long as there are stars above. There comes a new year.
So here's what we're going to do for Havdalah, friends. We're all going to rise. Those of you who are in the front part of the sanctuary, you can just stay where you are at your seats, but rise. If you're in the back and you want to come a little closer, please do, but we're just not all going to come congregate on the bima. So please rise for Havdalah, but anybody in the back that wants to get a little closer, there's space where you can come be close and not be on top of other people. We'll bless over wine, we'll bless over spices, we'll bless over light, all things to take us into a sweet, new, and healthy year. Before our closing tekiah, which we all are excited to hear, we just want to thank our amazing choir and our incredible accompanist and our amazing conductor, John Sevier, all of which wouldn't actually happen without the most amazing Lisa Silver.
That was it. All right. Here we go.
Good Yontif, everyone.
A good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer, closer to the ones we love, a world that we can be proud of, as long as there are stars above. There comes a